Connie Marie Ruddy was born on December 8, 1975, in Emmitsburg, Iowa, to Gary and Mary Newmayer. She grew up in Mallard, Iowa, where she was known to be quiet and shy, though very kind-hearted. Her family and friends described her as a loving and devoted individual, especially when it came to her children. After graduating from high school, Connie married Shad Ruddy on February 21, 1994. They then settled in Ida Grove, Iowa, where Connie became a stay-at-home mother to their 2 young children. By 1997, Connie and Shad's marriage had crumbled, and they were now in the process of a divorce, but remained living together. Despite the divorce, everyone who knew Connie described her as a very responsible and caring mother to her 2-year-old daughter, Autumn, and her 3-month-old son, Austin. That's what made her disappearance all the more perplexing. On February 8, 1997, Connie's sister, Amy, last saw her at around 11 p.m. at Connie's home. Nothing seemed amiss during their brief interaction, and the children were already asleep. 2 days later, on Monday morning, February 10th, Connie's friends stopped by the house, only to find that Connie had vanished. The children were alone inside, unharmed, but Connie was nowhere to be found. Her car was still in the driveway, and her purse was inside the home. It was immediately clear that something was terribly wrong because her family knew she would never have abandoned her children. The local authorities began investigating her disappearance, but no new leads emerged. A search was launched that included the use of search dogs to determine if Connie had left the house on foot or had been picked up by someone. The search efforts were unsuccessful, and Connie's case quickly went cold. For over 2 years, Connie's family, friends, and the community continued to hold out hope that she might return. But as time passed, the chances of her being found alive grew slimmer. It wasn't until August 31, 1999, that a breakthrough in the case came. A man searching for fossils along the Boyer River near Dow City, about 30 miles from Ida Grove, discovered a human jawbone on a sandbar. The discovery was promptly reported to the authorities, and dental records provided crucial evidence confirming that the jawbone belonged to Connie. The discovery, however, left more questions than answers. Despite a thorough search of the area by authorities and the National Guard, no further remains or evidence were found. What had happened to Connie in the years between her disappearance and the discovery of her remains? Was she taken from her home that night, or did something else happen? The case was quickly reclassified as a homicide investigation, but without more evidence, it seemed as though Connie's case would remain unsolved. For Connie's daughter, Autumn, growing up without her mother has been one of the hardest things she has ever faced. Autumn, now a mother herself, has heard stories about her mother, but knows that knowing her through stories will never be the same as knowing her personally. Connie's son, Austin, was too young to have any memories of his mother, but like his sister, he grew up with the loss of her hanging over him. The family still doesn't have answers about what happened to Connie that night in February 1997, or who is responsible for her death. They hold on to hope that one day, the person who took her life will be found and justice will be served. Connie Marie Ruddy went missing on February 8, 1997, and as of March 2025, only her jawbone has been located, and this case remains unsolved. Gretchen Eve Fleming was born prematurely on December 24, 1994, in Warrenton, Virginia. She was raised in a blended family alongside her younger sister Emma, their father David, and stepmother Jennifer, along with 3 additional siblings. She was known for her intelligence, athleticism, and vibrant personality. After graduating from Parkersburg High School, Gretchen moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, but returned to Parkersburg, West Virginia, to live with her grandparents following the sudden passing of her mother. She then got a job working at a local H&M store before strangely disappearing. On the afternoon of December 3, 2022, Gretchen's grandmother dropped her off for work at the Grand Central Mall in Vienna around 1:15 p.m. Later that night, Gretchen, along with a man named John, went to the Front Row Sports Bar and Grill, where she was a regular. While there, they met some friends and decided to go do karaoke at the My Way Lounge and Restaurant in downtown Parkersburg. While there, she met another man and joined him in the gambling room. At some point in the early hours of December 4th, while her friend John was in the bathroom, she left with this unknown older man, leaving behind her purse and phone. The man was later identified as 55-year-old Darrell Lott, a former police officer whose birth name was Preston Pierce. Pierce had served in multiple departments across West Virginia for about 12 years, concluding his career with the Bellington Police Department in Barber County. He allegedly changed his name after being dismissed from a law enforcement job, possibly due to sexual harassment accusations, though he was never officially charged. Locals describe Pierce as having a long-standing reputation for being creepy toward women and inappropriate around children. After leaving the My Way Lounge, security footage captured Gretchen and Pierce walking toward his black Nissan Rogue, though the exact moment of entry wasn't recorded due to where the vehicle was parked. Cameras later picked up Pierce's car heading toward his house, located roughly 2 miles from the bar. Pierce told investigators that Gretchen was in his car that night, but claimed he couldn't remember where he dropped her off. He initially cooperated with police, but soon ceased communication. When Gretchen failed to return home or contact her family, her grandmother assumed she was spending time with friends, as she sometimes did. However, after several days without any word, her family grew increasingly concerned. On December 12, 2022, Gretchen was officially reported missing. Around the same time, her purse was recovered by staff at the Front Row bar and returned to her father, who turned it over to police. The community quickly rallied in support of Gretchen's family. On December 15th, law enforcement executed multiple search warrants, including one at Pierce's residence on Division Street in Parkersburg, with assistance from the West Virginia State Police Crime Lab. A crime scene van was seen parked outside the home, which was within a couple of miles from the bar where Gretchen was last seen. Rumors circulated locally that after Pierce moved out, new tenants reportedly found something suspicious in the home, though authorities never confirmed these claims. Detectives then revealed that Pierce had given inconsistent statements about where he dropped Gretchen off, and video surveillance contradicted his story. On December 30th, police released photos of Pierce's vehicle with distinctive stickers and a Pittsburgh Penguins license plate frame and asked residents to check their surveillance footage from December 3rd through the 5th. Authorities executed further search warrants in January 2023, targeting Pierce's home, vehicle, electronic devices, and any additional properties he might own or rent. A storage unit was also searched, though the results were not disclosed. On February 4th, a large-scale ground search was conducted at Mountwood Park, covering approximately 25 acres. More than 500 volunteers participated, including many from out of state. Some items were recovered during the search, but nothing was publicly linked to the case. While Pierce has never been officially named as a suspect or charged in connection with Gretchen's disappearance, he remains the last person known to have seen her. Authorities have noted that there's no evidence indicating Gretchen and Pierce knew each other prior to that night. Additionally, local speculation suggests that Pierce or his family may own rural property in neighboring counties, areas that are heavily wooded with caves and natural depressions, making them difficult to search thoroughly. Many have wondered why Gretchen left the bar without her purse and phone. It's widely believed she was heavily intoxicated that night, which could explain why she left her belongings behind. Some have speculated she may have been drugged or simply accepted what seemed like a harmless offer for a ride. The Parkersburg community, including the staff and patrons of My Way Lounge, has remained actively supportive in the investigation. The lounge even placed a candle in their front window as a symbol of solidarity. A $100,000 reward remains in effect for information leading to Gretchen's whereabouts and the arrest and conviction of anyone involved in her disappearance. Gretchen is described as standing 5 foot 1 inch tall, weighing 110 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. The Parkersburg Police Department and FBI continue to urge anyone with information to come forward, as her family still seeks answers and justice. Gretchen Eve Fleming went missing on December 4, 2022, and as of March 2025, she remains missing, and this case remains unsolved. Kevin Nguyen was born on October 4, 1993, to Lance and Sandy Yankee. At 25 years old, he was still living in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and enjoying life in his hometown. Kevin was close to his family, and they all loved him dearly, but on the night of December 8, 2018, everything changed. That night, Kevin went to the Brass Rail Bar in Fort Wayne to enjoy a few drinks with friends. What was supposed to be a fun night took a dark turn and led to Kevin disappearing under mysterious circumstances. At approximately 2 a.m. on December 9th, Kevin called his sister, Leanne, asking for a ride home. According to Leanne, he sounded as if he was in good spirits, possibly laughing with someone. However, when she attempted to go pick him up, their mother insisted on going instead. By the time their mother arrived at the bar, Kevin had vanished. Later that morning, Leanne received another call from Kevin but failed to answer it. It was 30 minutes after the first call, and she believes that had she answered, perhaps things would have gone differently that night. Soon after the second call, their mother called, asking where Kevin was. When morning arrived and Kevin hadn't returned home, they became extremely concerned, and not long after reported him missing. Surveillance footage from the Brass Rail Bar and nearby Arby's showed Kevin's movements in the hours after his phone call. He had been kicked out of the bar after being involved in some sort of altercation, although the exact details remain unclear. According to various sources, Kevin had been cut off multiple times throughout the night and was offered an Uber ride home. However, he continued to return to the bar, sneaking back in after being thrown out. It's believed that after being removed for the second time, Kevin walked to the nearby Arby's, where he was seen in surveillance footage at 2:40 a.m. The footage from Arby's was the last known sighting of Kevin. Later, his glasses were found in the parking lot of the bar, indicating that he had left without them. His glasses were discovered by a family member during the search for him, and they were in poor condition, having been run over and the lenses popped out. While it's unclear if the glasses were definitively Kevin's, it's suspected that they were. The investigation into Kevin's disappearance has been complicated by conflicting theories. Some suggest that Kevin, intoxicated and possibly under the influence of drugs, had a run-in with someone at the bar who may have been involved in his disappearance. There are unconfirmed reports that Kevin was given weed laced with meth, which might explain his erratic behavior that night. This theory raises the possibility that Kevin was a victim of foul play. Others suggest that Kevin may have tragically fallen into the river nearby after being thrown out of the bar. The cold weather and swift river currents could have made it difficult for search teams to locate him if he had drowned, especially if they didn't begin searching immediately. There is also speculation about a potential link to a bouncer at the bar who some say moved to Texas shortly after the incident. Whether this is true or simply a rumor remains unknown. The Fort Wayne Police Department has been criticized for its handling of the case, with some suggesting that they didn't explore all potential leads, such as examining the footage from nearby businesses or following up on additional witness reports. Furthermore, the bar's cameras reportedly weren't working that night, which has only added to the frustration of Kevin's family. The Brass Rail, a tight-knit local bar, has become the focal point of speculation, with some claiming that the bar's community may have been unwilling to help, while others accuse the bar's staff and patrons of not fully cooperating with the investigation. Despite these challenges, Kevin's family continues to push for answers. 6 years have passed since Kevin's disappearance, and still no one knows what truly happened that night. Kevin's family, especially his grandmother, Dee Campbell, has worked tirelessly to gather information from witnesses, law enforcement, and social media to piece together the events of that evening. Dee has spoken to people who were at the bar and who have suggested that Kevin was kicked out due to his disruptive behavior. However, the details of the altercation remain unclear, and it is still unknown who, if anyone, was responsible for Kevin's disappearance. His father, Lance, passed away in 2024 after battling brain cancer. Lance had been deeply involved in the search for Kevin, even looking over the security footage from Arby's himself. Kevin Nguyen disappeared on December 9, 2018, and as of March 2025, he remains missing, and this case remains unsolved. LaQuanta Nachelle Riley was born on February 26, 1984. Her mother, Pam Riley, was only 16 years old at the time, so LaQuanta was raised primarily by her aunt, Katie Smith, though she maintained a close relationship with her mother and great-aunt throughout her life. Growing up, LaQuanta had 5 younger siblings, one of whom tragically passed away in 1996. Family members described her as bubbly, compassionate, and loving, with a strong sense of responsibility and care toward her younger siblings. She enjoyed cooking, playing music, and had a natural talent for the clarinet, which she played in middle and high school bands. In 2002, LaQuanta graduated with honors from Reedon High School in Stone Mountain, Georgia. She was an ambitious young woman with a clear plan for her future. After earning a full college scholarship, she had dreams of studying criminal justice and pursuing a career in forensic science. In 2003, at age 19, LaQuanta was living with a roommate in Eufaula, Alabama. However, around Thanksgiving, she decided to leave that arrangement. On December 5th, she returned to her Eufaula apartment to gather her belongings. Later that day, she phoned her mother, sounding upset, and asked for a ride to Montgomery, Alabama, where her mother lived. However, Pam was unable to pick her up, so LaQuanta made other arrangements and moved in with her aunt and cousin at a residence on the 1500 block of Hill Street in Montgomery. 2 days later, on the night of December 7, 2003, LaQuanta left her aunt's home at approximately 11:30 p.m. She got into a dark green, 4-door vehicle described as either a Ford Taurus or Chevrolet Caprice with an unknown driver. The driver took LaQuanta to her mother's house about 3 miles away. She knocked on the door and asked her brother for a jacket. Her brother, who answered the door, was curious about who had driven her there, as he didn't recognize the vehicle. LaQuanta told him it was a friend she had met in the neighborhood. She took the jacket, returned to the green car, and drove away. She was never seen again. 3 days after LaQuanta vanished, her mother reported her missing. Her disappearance was deeply out of character, and she left behind her purse and money. Her family firmly believes she would never have willingly disappeared without contacting them and suspect foul play. A chilling development came shortly after she went missing, when Pam received a message on her answering machine that she believes was from LaQuanta. The message was garbled and hard to understand, but the female caller appeared to say either "leave me alone" or "let me go home." In the background, a man's voice could be heard saying LaQuanta's name before the call abruptly disconnected. Authorities were unable to trace the call, and its origin remains unknown to this day. Investigators also discovered that LaQuanta's name had been used to rent an apartment in Stone Mountain, Georgia, the same area where she had graduated high school. Hoping for answers, Pam traveled to Stone Mountain and met with the resident of the apartment. The man stated that LaQuanta had lived down the hall and had recently asked to use his phone after getting into some kind of argument. However, by the time Pam arrived, LaQuanta had already moved out a few days earlier, leaving no further trace. LaQuanta stood 5 foot 8 inches and weighed about 200 pounds. She has the words R.I.P. Misha or Rest in Peace Misha tattooed on one bicep in memory of her late sibling, and her first name, LaQuanta, tattooed on the other. Her nicknames are Quanta and Quanta. She did not own a vehicle or a cell phone at the time of her disappearance. In the years following her vanishing, Pam has tirelessly searched for her daughter. Fueled by her own experience, she founded the Riley Relief Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to offering support and resources to families of missing children and adults in Alabama. The mysterious phone call, the unidentified driver, and her sudden disappearance continued to haunt her family and the Montgomery community. LaQuanta Nachelle Riley went missing on December 7, 2003, and as of March 2025, she remains missing, and this case remains unsolved. McKenzie Mae Sessoms was born on March 1, 2002, in Cumberland County, North Carolina. At just 11 years old, McKenzie was a bright, soft-spoken fifth grader at Salemburg Elementary School. She was known for her sweet demeanor, but had endured a difficult childhood, including being sexually assaulted at the age of 7. Then in 2013, her mother, who resided in Dunn, North Carolina, lost primary custody of McKenzie due to truancy issues. As a result, McKenzie was sent to live with her father and 2 adult brothers in Salemburg. Tragically, her living situation offered little safety or security, as at least one of her older brothers was violent and allegedly threatened her, according to a friend of McKenzie. Sadly, within just 2 weeks of her mother losing custody, she was dead. Her father lived in a double-wide trailer positioned at the end of a long dirt road on Hare Lane, a somewhat isolated area in Sampson County. It was there, in unfamiliar surroundings, that McKenzie's young life was abruptly and horrifically cut short. On the night of September 5, 2013, McKenzie had fallen asleep on the couch in the living room while renovations were being made to her bedroom. That evening, one of her brothers hosted a party outside the home. Her father and another adult brother were reportedly asleep inside. The next morning, her father attempted to wake her for school, but found her unresponsive. Her bra was askew, her pants rolled inward and pulled down, and a quilt and pillow were wedged around her body. Authorities later determined she had been sexually assaulted and suffocated, with homicidal asphyxia listed as the cause of death. The murder rocked the small town of Salemburg, a community of only around 400 people. Yet, despite the size of the town and the fact that the crime occurred inside her family's home, the investigation was slow-moving and shrouded in secrecy. It took 8 months before the Sampson County Sheriff's Office made an arrest. In May 2014, 14-year-old Antonio Trey Jones, who lived next door with his father and grandfather at the time of the crime, was taken into custody. According to law enforcement, Jones was identified through DNA evidence and exhaustive interviews. However, significant controversy surrounded his arrest and subsequent handling. Jones, who had epilepsy and was in special education classes, was interrogated for over 3 hours without a parent or legal guardian present. His family described him as having the mental capacity of a much younger child and insisted he was not capable of committing such a brutal crime. A family friend described Jones as sweet as he can be, adding that he became confused during questioning and was emotionally distraught afterward. However, McKenzie's family said that Jones was banned from their home because of vulgar comments he allegedly made to McKenzie in the past. In August 2014, it was determined that Jones would be charged as an adult with first-degree murder and sexual assault, and Judge Sarah Seaton ordered him held on 2 $1 million bonds. However, Jones was later released in 2017 on a reduced $100,000 bond and placed under house arrest in Franklin County, where he lived with his mother. That same year, he was arrested again, not for the murder, but for failure to pay his house arrest fees, which had been paid by his mother until they fell behind. McKenzie's family has consistently voiced their doubts regarding Jones's involvement, believing if he played a role, he could not have acted alone. McKenzie's grandfather, Dudley Stark, investigated independently and discovered that far more people were present at the party that night than official reports acknowledged. He also questioned how her father and brother remained asleep while McKenzie was assaulted and murdered just feet away. Several puzzling aspects continued to surround the case. For instance, law enforcement allegedly told McKenzie's family they would need to pay $1,300 for additional DNA testing, which the family could not afford. Additionally, despite Jones being charged as an adult, there was significant secrecy surrounding the investigation, and District Attorney Ernie Lee repeatedly declined to provide details. To date, nearly a decade later, Jones has not gone to trial, leaving the case unresolved. The lack of transparency has sparked numerous unanswered questions. Why did it take 8 months to make an arrest in such a small town? Why hasn't the case gone to trial after nearly 10 years? What specific DNA evidence ties Jones to the crime when his lawyer stated there was no physical evidence? Who sexually assaulted McKenzie at age 7, and was that person ever considered a suspect or cleared in connection to her murder? McKenzie's family later faced further turmoil in 2022 when her older brother, Ray Sessoms Jr., was arrested following a violent incident where he allegedly chased and shot at another vehicle, seriously injuring a man. When authorities searched the family property on Hare Lane, they uncovered a significant cache of firearms, methamphetamine, and marijuana. Ray Sessoms now faces a litany of charges, including trafficking drugs, possession of firearms by a felon, child support violations, and assault with intent to kill. His brother, William Sessoms, was also charged with multiple drug-related offenses. These subsequent arrests have only raised more questions about what kind of environment McKenzie was living in and whether it played a role in her tragic death. McKenzie was found murdered on September 6, 2013, and as of March 2025, this case remains unsolved.